All right, let's get this started. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the Street Outreach Open Forum panel on Zoom for 2025. Um, Thank you to all the panelists and all the people in our audience today for joining us for this hour. Um, and so to introduce myself, my name is Justin Mulbauer. I'm the administrative assistant over here at Street Outreach, and wanted to gather all you today to essentially just try to get a better understanding and better idea and more awareness of what street outreach actually does. And just because we do so many things behind the scenes, and I feel like there's so many different roles and different points of view when it comes to how the operations overall play out in this program line. And so having on our panel, having different leads within our leadership and people outside within our community that collaborate and work with us collectively. Um, so I just wanted to gather all you guys here today to just, get the word out a little bit more. But a little bit about me and what I do for the street outreach program. So I essentially run a lot of the financial and marketing aspects for the program. So it's really just a matter of like I don't do any of like the field work, but every little part does collectively add up. So yeah, I do a lot of financial and fiscal related work for our program line. I do a lot of stock replenishing, just whatever the team needs, kind of just as like a backup. I'm here for that. So um, I started working in Access about maybe like a little over 7 months ago now. And just from my time starting to now, I've been so honored to witness just how this program line runs and operates, and everyone is just so inspiring every single day. And I'm really excited to share with you guys and just how have all of us share together how we operate as a whole and how we create something greater than the sum of its parts. So, um, if any of the panelists would like to start off by introducing themselves and saying what you do in the program line and how the efforts collectively help the program line operate. So if anyone would like to start, maybe Katie, would you like to start?
Yes, I can. My name is Katie Catherine Mariano, and I am the Director of Street Outreach here at Access Services. And
Um,
I'm currently, I will probably have my camera working in a moment.
you're good. Um, but Katie, for now, if you wanted to start off with just how exactly what your role is within the program line and how you came about and wanting to decide to work in this specific field of work.
Yeah, so I've been with Access Services for actually 4 years. Right next week, I think will be my anniversary. So I started as a street outreach worker. I was a street outreach worker for just under 2 years, and I was really lucky to be able to grow with the program. So I was able to move into the lead street outreach role, into the assistant director role, to associate director, and then now to director. The way that I kind of found my way here is I got my undergrad in human services with a focus in administration and family policy. I was working in HR at a psych hospital in North Philly, and I would always joke. I would say I'm in the right building, but I'm in the wrong department. So I knew I wanted to be client facing. So I went back to school for my master's. And in that, I wrote my master's thesis, particularly on the negative physical and mental health effects of disadvantaged neighborhoods, or I might have said that backwards. The negative physical and mental health effects that disadvantaged neighborhoods have on populations. That research really opened up a door. That's kind of how I knew that was my target population. So homelessness, poverty, disadvantaged neighborhoods, those things go hand in hand. I think individuals who are homeless are really dealing with the brunt of those negative consequences. So when I found this job, I knew it was the absolute perfect fit for me.
Thank you so much, Katie. And next panelist, Richard, would you like to?
Hi, everyone. My name is Richard Filson. I am the Director of Supporting Housing Solutions with Access Services. I've been here since 2019. I started out as Assistant Director of Street Outreach. Um, I would have to say my journey here to this place has been good. I started my career in restaurants, and then I've always known that I wanted to help people and help people who are suffering. My faith calls me to that, and I think that's really the core of why I do what I do. Um, as far as what I do in street outreach, I'm not as active as I used to be back in the day, because I've moved on to some of our other exciting startup programs, but we still get to liaise with street outreach when it comes to helping locate clients for rapid rehousing. They have a lot of input in the few we get to pick up. I still get to collaborate extensively for troubleshooting with them. If some of our folks in our permanent supportive housing program find themselves outside, we come alongside to try to serve them well. Um, and additionally, I get to sometimes help with some location for individuals who are struggling with locating units for rapid rehousing programs. My housing locator can assist them with finding some low cost and affordable units that they can take over or take on. And I'll pass it back to Justin.
Thank you, Richard. And next we have Chris Cannon.
Hello, everybody. My name is Cannon. I am the lead outreach worker for Homeless Street Outreach at Access Services. I've been here a little over a year now, I think a year and a month. And let's see, my specific role within outreach is, I think, to show up authentically and deliver information effectively for both clients and providers alike, build relationships, support my team, just look out for everybody, and just show up and do the best job I can to help get our clients housed. And that's really what it comes down to, I think. I mean, we do a lot in outreach. We're always out in the community, meeting everybody, keeping track of people the best we can. So I'm kind of a point person for our leadership team as well. And I think that what got me here is growing up in the Episcopal Church. My father was a priest, and growing up, I just realized I had a knack for people. I can show up and be myself and communicate effectively in almost any scenario. And whether that's an encampment or a gala or whatever. And yeah, I just love working with people. I love trying to be part of, the team that helps people, and that landed me here. So pretty stoked, and thank you guys for being here.
Thank you, Chris. Next panelist on or up at the moment, someone who does not work in Access but works with a lot of leadership within Access, Wendy Egoff. How are you today?
Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. I am Wendy Egoff. I work for the Salvation Army in Pottstown, and I direct 4 programs: the Family Residence Shelter, Permanent Supportive Housing, Pathway of Hope, which is a Breaking the Cycle of Crisis for Families program, and our Pottstown Works Job Readiness program. And I came to this field. This is definitely a calling. The background that I have in different areas of social work, I've worked with farm workers. I've worked with children with emotional challenges. I've worked in daycare setting, foster care and adoption, hospital social work, and nursing care social work. So all of those things together just really helped me with that background to come here to Salvation Army in 2005. So I'm going on 20 years now. First to open our transitional housing program, which now has morphed into permanent supportive housing, and then to come over to the shelter. And then gradually, I just kept taking on more programs. So those 4 things. And I really appreciate working with street outreach. We do a lot of coordination back and forth. We let you know when we have an opening in the shelter, and we work together to find the family with the greatest need that will fit in the room space that we have available. Sometimes that's challenging, but we do the best we can. And I do really appreciate your support and also your discernment as we try and house families temporarily in the shelter as they move on to permanent housing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. And next, I'm going to pass the microphone to Mr. Mark Bors.
I was going to defer my time to the rest of the panelists, but I will say this. On day one of Street Outreach in 2017, the street outreach team was Deborah Curtin and myself. And whatever, I will speak for myself. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was very enthusiastic. I think Deb knew more than I did. But I will just say this, that as one of the privileges of sticking around in an agency as long as I've been is to watch programs grow. And so it's really a privilege to see what has happened as a program, but also all the partnerships that are happening now in the across the county with folks like Wendy and others that has grown up over the last bunch of years. So respect. I'll pass it back to you, Justin.
That was awesome, Mark. Thank you so much. And the next panelist we're going to pan it over to is Chris Lankowski.
You're muted, Chris.
I'll just have.
We're sharing an office, so we had to change around with the volume and everything.
All right.
So my name is Chris Lankowski. I'm the assistant director of the Street Outreach Program. One of the things that we were talking about, what brought us into this field, into this line of work, is a little bit of what my background comes. It's a little bit different, not necessarily in social work. I have a bit of like that lived experience piece that we talk a lot about, and personally, I think is really valuable, and I think it's the asset that I bring to the program and to the people that we're speaking to. Just a way to kind of relate, be there. In my past, I was the person who was reaching out and the phone call wasn't answered. There wasn't help to be given. There wasn't anybody on the other end of the phone, and it made me feel very alone. So I think, part of, I guess this leads into the other question of what our role is to be that person on the other end of the phone, whether our program is going to be there 24 hours a day, we're going to talk to people, we're going to safety plan with them. And that's what I feel like, our role is here in the county, and what my role is on the team is to be that buffer, that mouthpiece for the people out there and for the team as well, because they're also doing hard work. So that's part of my role here at Access is I'm watching the street outreach team, seeing how they're doing on a day-to-day basis, making sure that they're going out there, meeting the people that need to be met, getting them enrolled into the program, the boots on the ground, nuts and bolts of the program, all that kind of stuff. But really at the end of the day, showing them what's important, which is just being that person for another person. And that's the most important thing at the end of the day. But thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right. Before we move on, just want to check. All right, cool. All right. So the next portion of this, so when people were registering for this Zoom panel, people had options to submit any questions that they had regarding the program, anything about our program line as a whole. And we did get a couple responses for questions. So we had someone named Sarah Ramers ask, how can agencies better partner with private landlords and property management companies to find housing for to find housing for clients with disabilities? And that was two separate questions. Okay. So for any of the panelists, how can agencies better partner with private landlords and property management companies to find housing for clients with disabilities? Any panelists would like to jump in?
I feel like that might be something I could speak into a little bit, and probably Wendy too. So what we've discovered through our time so far in supportive housing solutions is, one is to be very clear and upfront and honest with landlords. You want to make sure that you are not underselling what you do or overselling what you do. You need them to know what kind of they're signing up for and where you will be when things happen. The other part of that is also showing up with that as well. It's helpful to understand that the landlord is also your client as well, the individual. You just supporting the person in the house, but you also have to support the landlord and build relations that way. How you respond to the first crisis or the second crisis with the landlord is going to color whether they're going to want to work with you again, whether they're going to trust you again, or if they're going to trust any program or provider again. I have certainly spoken to landlords who have had bad experiences with other providers that we will have to answer for. But it's partnership. It is coming with an attitude of partnership and honesty, I think, that works the best.
I would agree with everything that Richard said. It's certainly working at building relationships over the years, and for landlords to know that you are going to be there when one of your clients destroys a door or breaks out a window or burns the place down, and just to be there and be present for them and hear their complaints, hear their praises, goes a really long way. I found in situations where sometimes we have very, very good tenants, landlords appreciate that, and then they're a little bit more understanding when we have tenants that aren't so good. If we give landlords tenants that we know are going to be bad tenants all the time, then it's not going to go real well in the future. So Richard's right. We do have to answer for other organizations who have made errors, and it reflects back on us too. So we do the best we can. And I love collaboration with other organizations. We've shared really great landlords with other people, as have other organizations shared with us, particularly if it's out of our area of the county and we might not know the landlord set. Since we're in the western part of the county, we might not know the landlords well in the very northeastern part of the county. So it's nice for us to share back and forth too, of landlords who are very open.
One
Awesome.
thing that
Oh,
One thing that
sorry.
I want to add just as a follow-up point that occurred to me, they did a survey of landlords who participated and refused to participate in housing programs. And the biggest complaint that landlords had was communication. So if your landlord knows how to reach you and you get back to them, that's a really big deal. Because a lot of times landlords have said that they feel like they're on an island if they don't have clear lines of communication with the provider agency.
Thank you both so much. That was awesome. So this next question was in the same set of questions. I think it was by probably someone else that was registered. Uh, Not too sure, but either way, so one of the main premises of this panel is to make people more aware about what we do as a whole. Specifically for each person within this panel, I feel like everyone can definitely have a different answer for this. So, what ways do you guys know that we can advocate for the unhoused population and increase programs and funding, just in regards to, like, this is one of the many examples that we're getting what we do out there into the community, out in the world. But if there's anything that you guys personally find the best way to just advocate and just to whatever you can, do you guys have any ways, if anyone in the community just wants to get involved, or if anyone wants to just help out in any way, shape they can? So if any panelists have any suggestions or any personal ways that they know can definitely work, share with the group. That would be awesome. I know.
I can jump in. Yeah. So
Awesome.
I kind of took that questions. I saw like really small things that folks can do, and then I kind of saw like bigger overarching things folks can do. So just really quickly, like small little things, tangible things that individuals can do for the homeless population. A lot of times gift cards is a really big thing. So if you know a homeless individual, you know there's a homeless population, a lot of times giving them just like a McDonald's gift card, any fast food gift card, they can actually go purchase food, be a paying customer, sit inside for however many hours. They can't legally be told to leave. So that's like a really easy just thing that you can kind of pick up and start doing immediately. But when I think of that question, I kind of think of larger overarching ways that we can advocate for folks kind of in the political sphere, in our own community. And I think we all know that we're in a giant housing crisis right now. And that's not just affecting homeless individuals, it's affecting everyone. The housing market, the rental market, everything's really just exploded to where there is such scarce housing resources. There was an old statistic, and I imagine it's probably grown by now. Don't quote me on a source. I can find it if I need to. But they said for every 100 housing vouchers that are Section 8 vouchers that are out there, there's about 33 available units that are actually up for grabs. So people are kind of trying to fight over the same exact units. So just investment into affordable housing, telling your local officials that affordable housing matters. And then also zoning is a big thing. So when it comes into shelter or even just building affordable housing, zoning really is kind of that first kicker that can kind of make it or break it. So advocating for zoning changes, being at your local zoning hearings, kind of knowing what your zoning code is, just being aware and in the loop of that, and expressing to the powers that be that it is important that we make these changes. So zoning, I would say probably the biggest one, and just an overall investment in more affordable housing.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. So we do have a couple more questions sent in. So this next person, Carol, asked, what steps is Montgomery County taking to address this entire crisis as a whole? I know there's many different faceted ways that the county and different organizations are coming together to end this as a whole, but within, I know everyone has different roles within street outreach or in collaboration with street outreach. So just what ways are you guys finding to be the most beneficial right now? What steps are you guys seeing that the county or organizations are taking to really, really put a stop to this and just progress further with just trying to end this crisis? Because it's going to it will, sorry, I got an email. But it's never it's continuing to grow, and I feel like it's no matter what scale it is, whether it's a local level, state level, international, national, whatever the case is, it's still growing. So if there's any ways that you find people are utilizing the most to try to get to diminish this crisis as much as possible, any panelists would like to share it, that would be awesome.
I have a few ideas that might be helpful. I think something that I find really inspiring is when I see communities take up the call to help people in their own community, and they don't really wait, or they just handle it. And I've seen that happen in Lansdale with this new shelter that's opening. Some stuff in Pennsburg with a Code Blue shelter that opened, and some volunteers just from their neighborhood really taking it upon themselves to be of help to their community. And there was one more example that's escaping my mind, but when I see neighbors literally helping their neighbors who are going through homelessness, I think that's an amazing initiative that can really ripple out. So yeah, I wanted to throw that out there.
To kind of piggyback off of that, I just thought of a really great thought that kind of complemented what you said, Chris. I always think of like, it's really daunting. You really can't change the world, but what you can focus on is your corner of the world. You can make a big change in your little corner.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. And we have one more question from Carol as well. In regards to specifically the elderly population and disabled within our county, what resources are on the horizon for elderly and disabled people within our county?
To keep an elderly person in their home, there are some resources through sorry, I forgot the new name of Aging and Adult Services. But there are some resources there that will help bring people help into the home to keep someone in their home rather than going to a care facility. So that's really helpful. Also, the VNA Personal Navigator can help a person really navigate through their health issues and coordinate things with them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And if anyone has any, oh, sorry, I muted myself. If anyone has any other follow-ups to any of these questions, before we get into the open forum part, if anyone would like to share their answers as well, by all means, the floor is yours. Otherwise,
I just want to jump on what Chris said about just local communities responding, and I think that's been an effort that at Access we've been pressing on. Like, how do we help? How do we engage directly with the community to respond to this on a local level? One of the things I think has been helpful has been the increase of volunteerism around Code Blue sheltering, and it's code. We've had, like, it's like we're living in like the Arctic, right? This winter we've had such an extended Code Blue season, and people are sort of tiring out. We put a big lift on the volunteer Code Blue workers. But one of the things that's happened because of that over the last several years is that people get to know the story. They get to know people and their story, and that changes the understanding in the community. Who's homeless and why are they homeless? And I think that's really helpful to press change on a community level. I've seen volunteers at a shelter at the end of a Code Blue season say, I've spent all this time with a person and they really need a little bit of help getting inside, and I'm going to do that. Or they need help getting an ID, and I'm going to drive them to Norristown to make sure that happens. So when people get connected through volunteerism, it changes how they understand the issue in their local community. And I think it's one of those things we just have to keep planting the seeds and then watering them a little bit. But I think that's a good inroad.
I love it. And even to add on to what you're saying, Mark, genuinely, like, even like starting at the local level, like when you're just going about in your everyday life, and I don't know, like I've just seen there's so many little, like, as you're traveling the world, as you're traveling across the state, city, wherever you're going, it literally it really depends on how you put it in the context of what level it's at and like what broader level you're putting it at. And so even there, just from that perspective alone, it's like literally it happens in it's happening everywhere, and it's the efforts collectively are getting a lot bigger. And that's one of the many reasons why I wanted to have this panel today as well. Just even, it doesn't matter how many people are in this Zoom call, it doesn't matter how many people know about this. It's just a matter of getting our awareness out there and having people know what we do, just so that way collectively everyone can just start doing collective efforts. And it's pretty awesome though, just how especially this program has evolved in the last few years and literally started from the ground up, and now it's just it's transpired into something absolutely awesome. And I know this year it's going to be still growing and growing. So with that being said, I actually had another question that I submitted myself, but some people already answered this, but I may as well throw this out there again. Actually, no, this is another. Okay. For all the panelists, just one more question. If you could tell your younger self one thing about where you're at right now in life regarding your career, whether it's it just in regards to this field of work, what would you tell yourself when maybe you were just starting out in this career or just starting out in this field? If any panelists would like to take the floor.
I can jump in. So I remember being young and certain, especially when I was getting my undergrad at University of Delaware, I remember being in my human services classes, learning about all these topics, not so much feeling overwhelmed, but maybe a little bit of overwhelmed, a little bit of existential, like what these are big problems. How do I solve them? And I remember sometimes I would even like tear up in class if we would watch really sad videos, and I would cry. And I was like, how am I going to go do this work if I'm crying. And I would tell myself that kind of the strength of putting your work hat on, facing the challenges, knowing what work you're getting into, knowing how hard it is, knowing that we are working within broken systems, but we're trying to do the best we can, the best work we can within those broken systems. I would tell myself, just keep at it. You can do the work, you can get in the field, you'll get stronger, you'll get more resilient. And I'm just continuing to build that resiliency even now.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. If anyone else would like to share, if not, then we will move on to the open forum part of this Zoom panel. So we had people able to answer question or ask questions in the registration link, and all the questions were answered. So now this can be amongst panelists, this can be amongst audience members, doesn't matter who. But if anyone has a question they have for anyone specifically on the panel, or literally anybody, feel free to ask away. I feel like we've definitely heard some great answers and input from all the panelists from today. So thank you guys all for being here. And likewise with the audience members, thank you guys for tuning in and listening and being interested and more intrigued about what we exactly do in our operations, in our program line. Anyone have any questions for the panelists right now? Give a moment to see if anyone has any.
Wendy, I'm interested in your take on just sort of the trends around families and homelessness. I mean, like I think we're seeing some things out of street outreach, but I'm just interested in your sense of overall what's happening and what does it look like?
Mark, we are seeing in the code blue realm, this year we have had more code blue families than we have in the past 5 years together. I mean, more this year together than we have in the past 5 years together. So we're seeing an increase in families who are in a situation of homelessness, and we're seeing large, 3 and more. I felt bad earlier this week. Our whole dining room, all of our rooms are full, and our dining room is full. And we had a family of 6, and we had no space to accommodate them, and that was really upsetting to me. As far as our families who are coming through our shelter program, we're seeing a trend of families using their network to tell other friends and families where to come to get resources. And we can really track families who are here and their connections with families who are also here or who have been here in the past. And we've been seeing that in the last 3 years. A definite pattern of families following each other through our shelter system. So does that surprise you?
Not the volume, but not the fact that it's increasing, but the fact that maybe words got on out. You must be doing good work over there, Wendy, if people are referring all of their network to you.
They are, and we're also seeing from the time Your Way Home started, we saw a lot of new young families who had lived with mostly their moms, but sometimes their dads, who had never been on their own. And we saw them come through, a lot of those small families come through the system to become independent. And we saw a mixture of needs. And now in the last, I'd say the last 3 years, we're seeing families with the most serious needs that we've ever seen before. And so and this is my personal deduction, what I'm deducting is that we must have done a really good job of handling families who need a light touch. And now we're seeing families who need a very heavy touch. and lots of resources and lots of support. So when they're here with us, we're trying to help them build pretty much a new network because their former support system, many of them, not all, but many of them is totally broken. So we're helping them try and figure out what community do you want to live in, and then starting to build that network so that when they get out, they don't crash right away. We also let them know that they're always welcome to come back, that we're still here. We'll help them however we can. You know, if they need a little food, you know, to get them over till pantry day, you know, we'll help them with that. But if they need specific things, we have a network of wonderful, wonderful community volunteers that will say, hey, so-and-so needs a microwave, or they need a kitchen table, or whatever it is they need. And so we'll outreach to our network to try and help them get their needs. So we're letting them know that, hey, you can come back here and we're going to support you. And we help them with jobs if they want to get jobs. Our job readiness program grew out of our shelter, out of the need in the shelter. So we help them with that. And that program also supports people after they get jobs so that when they run into those barriers, we'll help them over them. Right now, we are helping people we can't do this in shelter, but in our job readiness program, if they need childcare, we can pay for that for a while. We have some funding that we can do that, which we haven't had in the past. And we're very, very surprised that only one family has taken us up on that. And we wish more would, because we can help them get started before CCIS kicks in. So we're here to support them while they're here, build the network, and also after they leave us. And some families, you know, we see for many years. You know, we have an undocumented family that we've known for at least 8 years. And so we're still involved with them. I have a family with special needs, now adult daughter, that I've known for 19 years. And when she runs into a problem, she calls me and we help her.
Thank you both so much for that. That was lovely. We actually have a question in from our chat. Jordan's asking, will you be involved with the Days Inn in Pottstown, and what services can you help us with there? If anyone would like to jump in.
Yeah, I can answer this one. So this is actually all very new information. We luckily had a meeting with the County and Opportunity House yesterday, but we will be beginning to send referrals directly to the Opportunity House Days Inn hotel rooms, pretty much exactly similar as we do to the RHD Horsham hotel model that's operating right now. As of right now, it's going to be Pottstown residents. We're still kind of waiting for some of the finer details, but that's some really new, exciting development. So we will now be able to refer to not only the RHD Horsham model, but the Days Inn model as well. The county is also going to be acquiring another 62 beds. I think in the meeting they said they're going to be doubling up rooms, so the capacity will go up to like 160, 168. Opportunity House. So essentially our role is to refer them into that opening. We prioritize, we have a look at who's the most vulnerable in that area. We are very excited because there's been a lot of Pottstown individuals that have been affected. I'm going off on a little tangent, that have been affected by multiple sweeps within Pottstown that have never made it inside, whether to that shelter, whether to the Days Inn. So we have a really good kind of finger on the needle. We know who's been out there. So we're really excited to be able to make sure that those individuals are going to get in as well. Opportunity House right now, they are working to bolster their staffing for case managers. So once folks are in Opportunity House, we kind of a warm handoff over to Opportunity House. They will pick up with the case management. Those individuals are able to stay on the rapid rehousing wait list through Your Way Home. So that's the coordinated entry process. They call the call center, get on the rapid rehousing wait list, get verified as street homeless, get referred to a shelter where they hopefully will be picked up by a housing resource center, thus being able to be housed out of the shelter where we can continue sending individuals as we have next openings.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to drop them in the chat box. Question for our panelists. Just every day, what inspires you? Especially just this field of work is there's so much that goes on, and there's moments where I know it can be stressful, and there might be moments where but just what motivates you guys every day, and what inspires you guys to keep doing what you're doing and just pour your heart out in the community.
You know, I'm sorry, Chris, you go ahead.
No, it's just a lot of what I try to keep in mind on a day-to-day basis is what I talked about in the beginning. It's remember where you come from and why you're doing what you're doing. Take it back to that day one, like the reason you got into this. Just have that moment of self-reflection, and introspection, and see what it is that really brought you into this line of work. Sometimes, it can take a little bit more than others, like a little bit more time than other times, depending on the kind of day you're having. But to really kind of have that piece that's central to you and who you are as a person, and to be able to find that, and to really make that, your hallmark, your calling card, and just remember who you are at the end of the day. I think that's really important.
Still muted. Forgot I was muted for a brief second. We actually got a couple new questions in the chat. Anissa asks, I understand about Pottstown, but why aren't there hotels for Norristown? If anyone would like to jump in on that.
Yeah, so and I'm kind of speaking a little bit for the county, so I don't have all the inside details. The Days Inn located in Pottstown, so that's just the geographic location where they were luckily able to find a hotel that was willing to contract all those rooms out with them. I do know the county is actively looking for solutions in Norristown. To be honest, there really is not a ton of hotels in Norristown. There's the Red Carpet Inn. I unfortunately don't think that manager is amendable to a large contract such as the Days Inn. Previously, with the Chalk being in Norristown on State Hospital grounds, with that closing, it's absolutely caused a ripple effect through Norristown. Norristown and Pottstown are equally our largest catchment zones for homelessness. So while I don't have a good answer for that yet, I'm hopeful, and I'm appreciative of the county who are searching and looking for additional spaces. So hopefully something in Norristown coming soon. Luckily, they do have two Code Blue shelters, as well as the Women's Winter Shelter at the Norristown Salval, and then we also have the Sisters of Charity small shelter that we can send folks over to as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Katie. And Jordan also asked another question. Jordan's asking, when you're meeting people in the community who are unhoused, if they are experiencing substance use disorder, how do you get them connected to treatment? Any of the panelists would like to jump in?
I think, I think I can jump in on this one. First and foremost, when I meet someone who's going through substance abuse, there's never any ounce of judgment, or even like blinking at the situation. And when it comes to connecting with resources, a large part of what we do is connect people with resources. So it's a lot about letting people know what resources are available in the community where they are. If it's something immediate, like someone is trying to get into treatment, we can go through the Montgomery County Overdose Response Team, MCORT, to help facilitate that. I know that in addition, sometimes at the hospitality center, we can work with staff there to get people into treatment. Places like Creative Health and Central Behavioral Health, any sort of case management. And also just, on a more boots on the ground scenario, keeping Narcan in my car, on my person, just in case. Um, and just continuing to show up, continuing to have those resources on hand to give people, I think, and also just empowering people to make that choice for themselves, no matter how long it takes, and growing in relationship kind of regardless, I think is really important. Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chris.
I'm
Oh, wait.
gonna piggyback on that just to say there's lots of reasons there's lots of reasons that we might not understand that make it hard for somebody who's living outside to get access to care. And that includes both behavioral health or mental health support as well as substance use support. And one of the things is that it's really hard. Like if I decide to go into treatment today, where's my stuff going to be? Where's it going to go? And then so that's one thing that keeps people, or there's a connection to somebody else. They're taking care of somebody else's stuff. They're taking care of somebody else's dog. Like there's things that they can't just leave that people who live in a house might be able to. So that's one big issue. Another issue is they're not sure what's going to happen afterwards. So there's sort of an assumption that if you go into treatment, that's a pathway to housing, and it's not really. So, or for a lot of people, it's not. It could be, but for lots of people, it's not. So people oftentimes come back out. They have to reestablish themselves as a person living outside, trying to be clean and sober now, but also having to start over in sort of a survival mode. And so that's been part of. People have talked to me about that. Sometimes people have a substance use issue, and then you also have problems with the law. Oftentimes those two things are linked. They got in trouble, they got arrested once, they have some things that need to be cleared up in the court, and they're not sure how that's going to work, or will they be in more trouble at the other end of treatment. So there's things that make it hard on top of sort of the readiness kinds of things that Chris was talking about. So a lot of what I see happening is really just staying engaged with the person, helping do harm reduction, while saying, if at any point today's the day, let us know, and we will work really hard to make today the day that you get into treatment. That happens. We've seen that happen. But those things you sort of have to hold those things with people while you're going through that process.
Yeah, if I can touch on that, like what Mark was saying, it's what we do a lot of times, and getting the people into treatment is the goal, obviously, but a lot of what we're doing and how I see it is we're the first point of contact that a lot of people are having into what we call the system. And I think like to think that our workers and our teams out there breaking down the barriers to what the system is and what people's perception to what the system can be. That it doesn't necessarily work for the person; it just exists for no other reason but to exist. And instead, we're going out there with the street medicine team, the street outreach team, and we're going out there, we're meeting people where they're at and giving them something that they haven't had before, hopefully, which is, a provider that wants to listen and be there for them, and to make them a little less resistant to change, and a little bit more willing to accept help and to ask for it when they're ready for it, I think is also huge, because people can be ready to ask for help at any point in time, but if they don't have somebody they trust in asking, or somebody that they know they can ask, wanting to doesn't mean anything. They have to have that person there. So we're providing that outlet, that resource for the community to ask for help too. And I think that's a huge benefit that our program has.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll mute that. Yeah. All right. As we're wrapping up, if anyone has any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And I love all the conversation going on in the chat right now. Oh my gosh. And if that is the end of the question panel, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. This was genuinely the first of many to come for street outreach panels. I feel like these are dire to have, just so that way we can increase our community, but also just our connections, our networking, to all have a common goal to end at the end, but to progressively diminish the housing crisis and to just tackle with what we just deal with what we can. And building a network of amazing people like this is only the start of one of many ways to getting ourselves out there and what um, we need to do as a community collectively. And to all the panel members, to all the audience members that are in this Zoom panel, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your day to not only join us, but to also just genuinely listen in and get some insight and input about how this program line is going to be growing, whether in all forms, whether it's awareness, just increasing the network of people that we have in our community. So there's a lot of good things coming, and this panel was just the genuine start of so much greatness coming for this year. If anyone has any other questions, we can give a little more time, or if anyone has anything they want to say in general.
Yeah, I'll jump in for, I see Rachel's question. So yes, yeah, the first step is calling into the call center. I think I finally have it memorized since they switched it from 211-610-278-3522. So yes, your information is correct.
All right. That is it. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for joining today. This was a great last hour. And be on the lookout for more panels in the future. And if anyone has any questions, anything, more than welcome to reach out to any of our panelists or audience members. This is a Zoom panel full of networks. So, and this is only the first of many. So, thank you all so much. My name is Justin. Just y'all are awesome. And I will see you guys soon. Be on the lookout for more panels in the future. So thank you all so much. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. And go Birds. We won.
Thank you,
Bye,
Justin.
guys.